students, thanks for coming. Thanks for completing the form. Thanks for developing the questions, and you'll have time to ask more questions after we get going. But first, I wanted to just introduce and thank all the veterans for being here today. Give them a round of applause. And guys, if you don't mind, just give us kind of like a quick bio. I'll pass the mic down. Tell us your name, your service branch, and any other details that you'd like to include.
Okay, thank you.
Buddy Austin, Army Strong, Poor. You want me to get up?
No, you're good.
Okay. Brian Gray, United States Marine Corps, Hoorah.
Bob Butcher, 3rd Division, World War II.
Airborne.
Stephen Stokes, United States Army, 82nd Airborne Division.
One-hour class, United States Army, Vietnam veteran.
What effect did the time you spent in the military had in your professional life?
I guess for me, I joined the military while in high school. I was kind of in between on what I wanted to do, whether it was going to be college or where I was going to pursue my career at. But by me joining the military, that led also to me a successful career in law enforcement where I retired as a trained police officer.
Anybody else? We can have more than one vet in here.
I joined the Army when I was 18 years old. I made a career out of the Army for 20 years. And I also retired from the Department of Correction.
If you could go back in time, would you do it again?
Not only would I do it again, I'm still serving now.
The military is a brotherhood, and it's something that's once it's embedded in you, you can't get it out. And you know, if I can do it again right now today, I'll do it. I currently have 2 daughters who are serving in the United States Army.
Like I stated, I joined when I was 18. I grew up in Newark, New Jersey. Really was not much going on. I was heading in the wrong direction. So the Army was the right step for me. 20 years. My son also followed the same footstep. He joined at the age of 18. And he started doing nurses for me.
What advice do you have for high school students?
The advice I would give to high school students is just know that you have more choices. You can go to college, you join the military, or you can take up a trade. But whatever you do, just stay focused on what you're doing.
I deployed to Iraq in 2004, and based off of what the United States went there for, there were a lot of children who were orphans, homeless, and didn't have a school to go to. So take advantage of the education that you have today that other kids and students in other countries don't have the same opportunities. So don't take it for a joke. What you do today is going to lead to your future.
Did the time in war change you for better or worse?
Wow. I was 19. when I went to war. So my time in the service, I think it gave me a little bit more discipline. And I did 25 years in the Department of Corrections. And that gave me the discipline to stay focused on what I wanted to do in my life. So yes.
Quick. It did make some changes for me. I was young, inexperienced, no direction to go. So you find yourself in the same situation, don't want to go to college, just got nothing else to do, find a service. I would suggest the Army. There's also the Marine, but I'll suggest the Army. Discipline, partner self-control, be part of a team that will ever follow you. Because as Lottie said, once you're a veteran, you're always a veteran.
What kind of effect did society have in your life and or emotions at the time?
During the war, they're coming back.
Coming back.
Okay, I can answer part of that. My time, my war was a little bit different than Afghanistan, Iraq, and the other ones. When we came back, the nation was going through a lot of changes. The Vietnam War was the first war that was fought in the TV. In other words, you saw the daily news of things that was going on in Vietnam, and that changed the minds of a lot of our citizens. So they did not perceive the Vietnam War as a good war. They did not perceive the veterans that served during that war as being the citizens. We were not acceptable when we came back. So we had a lot of changes and things that we had to adapt to. And one was trying to get back into a community that really didn't want us in there. So it was hard for us. But we adapted, and like the Marine says, we overcame it.
Well, coming back from a Desert Sea, Desert Storm, adapting back to the civilian life ain't easy, but we took a lot of counseling. So that's the key. If you need help, get it when you come back.
I'm of a different age, because when World War II was in, I was 17 when I got, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I was 17 in high school, and in those days, when you turned 18, you had to register for the draft, and everybody went into the service. And I did not have any objection to that, because you learn to respect authority, and you learn to do what's best for you and your comrades, so to speak. And I got into the Marine Corps, and after boot camp, next thing I knew, I was on a ship in the Pacific, going to these various islands out there, and I stayed out there for almost, I guess, 2 years. Then the war ended. I came home, and I'm very sorry I never took advantage of the, they called it in those days, the GI Bill of Rights, where you could get a free education, almost a free education, and I never took advantage of that. And I'm very sorry about that. Eventually, I did go to several colleges, but that involved the job I was getting at the same time. So I would encourage everybody to get all the education you can, because there's nothing better than having a nice job to support yourself and your family.
Did you enlisted?
Did I become more patriotic after I enlisted? Yes, and although, you know, the roots of my family can be traced back to serving in every war since World War I, but certain things like my grandfather and other combat veterans wouldn't discuss with you until you became a combat veteran. And what you see with the gear that we have on, by being a member of the VFW, we promote patriotism, we promote advocacy. So it gives you a greater sense of pride when you returning home. Like Juan said, was different from Vietnam than Iraq or Desert Storm veteran. When just someone say thank you for your service, happy Veterans Day. That just means a lot and it goes a long way.
Why did you decide to join the military?
For me personally, why did I decide to join the military? It was 1982 in the gym here. I lost my first wrestling match. No, but I did lose my first wrestling match here. I went because it was a family tradition. It was something that I wanted to do to better myself. At that time in life, in 1987, I was 17 years old. I believe it was the right choice for me. My family, my mother and my grandfather, they wanted to send me to college, but I didn't want to become a financial burden, and I wanted to find my own way.
Oh, can you repeat that question one more time, please?
Why did you decide to join the military?
I decided to join the military in 1986. I had an uncle that was in the Marine Corps. I had a brother that went in the Marine Corps. My older brother, I wanted to be just like him. So I went to the military entry program. I graduated high school in 1988. 3 days later, I was in Paris Island, South Carolina.
I don't know how Paris Island was when you were there, but we could have used better accommodations. Oh, we could have used better accommodations then. But that was the life at those times, because everybody was in one branch of the service and you did what you had to do. Just really it was for the honor of serving your country. And I guess you're, in my case, the fellow Marines. And,
So I stated, my time, my generation was different. We had to draft. Those who went to college or found a spot too high, they didn't get drafted. I wasn't drafted. I volunteered. And as I stated, I was heading in the wrong direction. And I found the right person to put me on the right track. I turned 18. A couple of days later, I was in the Army. So that's the main reason I joined. And I never regretted that decision. Even though there was time when I was in basic training that I regretted that decision. But as I progressed on in the military, I really enjoyed and made a life out of it.
Who was an unforgettable person you met during your time in service?
Who's an unforgettable person you met during your time of service?
oh,
For me, I think it was my recruiter, because I think he told me a big fat story. He said I was going to come with my best friend, and the next thing I know, I was there by myself. But I've met a lot of good friends. Over the years, I've met people that I've never thought I would ever be, big places I never thought I would go. So I'm going to blame this on my recruiter.
For me, it's two people. 1987, Fort Sill, Oklahoma, Drill Sergeant Calton. And most of us heard the same thing from a drill sergeant. The drill sergeant used to say, I'm not going to make you do nothing private that I can't do. And I'm looking at this older gentleman, I said, oh, I'm not going to be doing nothing, I got it. He did everything. And that's one thing about the military. They don't only show you, they lead the way. And that transitioned into when I was in Iraq and we had a lieutenant colonel who was out there on every mission on the front lines with us, and I respect those two individuals to this day.
I guess the best person I remember, my best friend, he was from New York, he was 22 years old. He was Edward Mendez Quintana. He was killed in 1969. I still remember it to this day. That was my friend.
This brings back memories for me. When I was assigned overseas, I met this fellow, Charles W. Sullivan III, and he was my friend, good friend for all the time we spent in the Marines. And a lot of funny things happened. We were assigned, and at times when we had a shelter hat, that's half a tent, and his shirt, another tent, and he was a good head taller than me. And when it rained, either his foot or his head was out in the rain. And he just put up with it, that's all. And I'll say this about Sullivan. He introduced me to a lot of different foods I never had. He was from Maryland. And in the packages from home, my family used to send me cookies or cakes, and it took a month or so to get to us, and by then it was all dried up and stale, where his family used to send him canned food, and it was various things I never tasted before, but he introduced me to anchovies. I never tasted those, and I still like them today. And when I open up a can, I say, I think of Sullivan. So that's just the way it is. Sullivan passed away in his early 50s, so he didn't live very long, unfortunately. But
What were your views on the war after it was over?
What was that?
What were your views on the war after it was over?
If I was to tell you that my war never ended, that even today, I'm still fighting that war. Some days are good days, some days are bad days. My war was not one of the most favorite and supported war. Nobody wanted to be there. Even the guys that got drafted. The reason they did, because they dropped out of college or they were doing very poor in college and they end up in the service. So, whatever they possible. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
How did society change from then and now?
How did society change from then and now? My great-grandfather served in World War I. My grandfather served in World War II. And my uncle served in Vietnam. And I served in Desert Storm. The difference between me and my uncle, my grandfather, my great-grandfather, they were fighting for rights that they couldn't come home and receive. My grandfather and my great-grandfather still couldn't use a water valve, still didn't get equal education. So what makes America perfect is its imperfection. And no matter what has happened in the past, I love this country, and I will still continue to fight for this country, is because those who came along the way before us, they paved the road, and they knew that they were paving roads that they were never going to walk for future generations. So we got to continue to believe and fight that we can always do that.
Can you tell us what it felt like when at war?
What it felt like.
Can you tell us what it felt like when at the war?
It felt like for that war. I know this. I I never knew it snowed in California, and I never knew it got cold in the desert. August 2nd, 1990, they took over Kuwait. August 16th, 1990, I touched down in Kuwait to defend their country. Being there, not knowing what was going to happen, or if you are going to come back or not, it's a lonely, scary feeling. We lost more people in friendly fire than we did in the actual war. So it's a very scary feeling, a lonely feeling, not knowing what's going to happen. But as we say, when you sign on that dotted line, and they tell you where you go, that's where you are. And we have it's a scary feeling, just not to know. Sometimes you don't hear from your family, sometimes you can't write to your family, sometimes, you sit up there at 0 dark 30 and you can't see your hands in front of your face.
That's early in the morning.
So it's just a scary, lonely feeling.
I'm going to answer that question for the young lady. Every war is different. Every country is different. Vietnam was very different. I was an infantry soldier. And then I was up front. Our war was fought in the jungles. So it was miserable, it was wet, it was hungry, and you were tired all the time. We carried everything that we owned and we needed to survive in our rucksack. Sometimes 70 pounds, and sometimes a little more. But whatever we needed to survive in the jungle, we carried. The biggest thing that brought into us is always taking care of your buddy. The guy next to you on the left and the guy next to your right, because out there, they're the only people that you have to depend on. It doesn't matter what race, black, white, Indian, Hispanic, we were all one and we fought with one purpose, to make sure everybody survived, and we came home back to our country.
Can you tell me about your most memorable experiences?
Most memorable experience in Stokes.
Most memorable experiences. I had the war just in the service period. Well, my most memorable experiences are going to airborne school at Fort Benning, Georgia. Those were like the hardest 3 weeks of my life. They were harder than going through basic training. But you never will forget the black hats and the first jump. That's one thing you'll never forget.
It means you jumped out of airplanes while they were moving. One of my most memorable experiences is, I like it as a feel-good story. I unexpectedly was able to come home, and my mom was volunteering at Homefront on Princeton Avenue in Ewing, New Jersey. And just so happened she was working at the receptionist desk, and she was talking to one of the workers there about me. And so my mother's back was to the door, and as she's talking about me, she's telling the lady, oh, my son is in Iraq right now, and I'm so terrified, and the lady's just looking, and her eyes is getting bigger and bigger as I walk through the door, and my mom was like, are you okay? What is wrong with you? And she's like pointing, and then my mom turned around and seen me, and she looked at me, and then turned back around and finished telling the lady the story, then she was like, wait a minute, that's my son. They just jumped up, so it was like a shock and awe moment, but it's all worth it.
Can you describe what society was like during the time?
Well, I deployed in 2004, so during that time, You know, we were, I say we, the United States, we were in Afghanistan and Iraq due to the attacks on September 11th for the World Trade Center, Pennsylvania, and the Pentagon. During that time, it was a lot more patriotic. People understood the pride on what we had and what had happened to us. And at first they understood that what we had to do, but eventually it wound up being two of the longest American wars, 20 years that we served in. But during my time, 20-something odd years ago, things were good. It's the 1990s.
Like I explained, my time was different. The country was still fighting war. We went from World War II to Korea, and Korea was still going on, Vietnam started. So the country was tired of war. There was no patriotism. There was more that everybody was on. We would, as soldiers, at many times we would hate it. The uniform that we wore, it was painful for them to see us in those uniforms. It was painful for me as a soldier to see how we were treated. I did 2 tours in Vietnam. The first time I come back from that tour, I went to the airport. I got spit on. I had to go to the bathroom, take my uniform on, and put a set of clothes, civilian clothes, because the uniform, American soldiers at that time were really not welcome in our own country.
I'm of a different generation, but in World War II, it was a war, and everybody in the country was all together. And they contribute, even workers and soldiers, sailors, Marines, even Coast Guard. And it was something to save our country. And this may be disagreeable to some people, even in this room, but World War II was the last war that the United States ever won. All these other wars were just political differences, and that was very sad to me. I have to say that.
No problem, sir.
One thing also, I have this hat on, and this was given to me by someone I think you know. Mr. Ken Kleck and his family gave me this hat several years ago, and I'm always proud to wear it. And when I go to various occasions, like I'll say, I go to the casinos to gamble, I'll have my hat on, and you'd be surprised at how many people come over and say, Semper Fi. That's an indication that they were a Marine and they're giving me a hello. That's something I'm very proud of.
Describe what a typical day in service was like for you.
I guess we can start from boot camp. A typical day starting in boot camp is sun up to sundown. You wake up at night, you go to sleep at night, you get your training, you graduate, you go to your AIT schools, you go through those trainings, you go to your base station, and that's where the work starts.
Christian Gordon, please come to the main office. Christian Gordon to the main office.
Learn your MOSs, get your jobs. Just go through a lot of things, and you'll come out of it with people. So day is, you know, learning the partner to the right, partner on your left, and, you know, just bond.
The following fourth period classes, please report to the auditorium. Ms. Ryan Kriskowski's class and Mr. Festival, please report to the auditorium.
This is kind of repetitive. Did you make any close friendships while in the service?
Did we make any close friendship while in the service? These are my comrades. Everywhere we go, there's comrades. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, Space Guards, we're all comrades. So no matter today, yesterday, tomorrow, we're all going to be friends no matter what. We all serve this country.
Okay, so at this time, just going to open up questions from the audience. Does anybody have a question? Just shout it out, and or stand up, shout it out, and we can get an answer from you.
Don't be shy. I got a question. How many of you out there going in the Army? Let's go. Get them up. All right, that's 5. Marines. Good crowd.
Simple 5.
Air Force.
All hands going up.
Navy. Coast Guard. Space Force.
I'm gonna follow up on that. There's no greater thing, at least for me, because I was the first person in my family that served in the military. There's no greater pleasure and honor than is to serve in your country. I know that patriotism is dead nowadays, but hopefully what we talked about here gives you an idea of what the service are and what some of the things we did to survive and come home. But remember that. Not just you. It's not what the country can do for you, but it's what you can do for the country. And who said that? President Kennedy, remember that. So think about serving your country.
If I can the importance of all of us sitting here, being veterans and combat veterans, the Marine here to my right, it's an honor to be sitting here with him. Most don't know, all World War II veterans are America's greatest generation. And like he mentioned earlier, that is the last world war that the United States has ever fought in. We have been in wars, we have been in conflicts, but we owe a debt of gratitude to those brave men and women who served during World War II and are here with us today. It's because we're in this library, and this is walking history right here. Thank you, sir.
Why did you choose to enlist, or were you drafted?
I chose to enlist. The first reason I chose is because when the recruits used to come to the high school, they had a budget, so me and my friends knew that they would take you out to the pizza place and different things and stuff like that. But they caught on to that quickly. College, at that time, college wasn't for me, so I chose to enlist, but I did later on pursue and got my bachelor's degree using the GI Bill.
I chose to enlist. And going back to what this gentleman said to my right, it was drafted. When I was coming up, we had selective service. I don't know if they still have that now, but we had to sign for selective service. So I enlisted because I wanted something better for myself, and I needed a little bit more discipline. So that's what they gave me.
What is the safest job you ever had?
At that time, when you turned, I was 17, but when you turned 18, you had to register for the draft. And when I became 18, almost to the day, I got the call to go to the draft board. And I passed the physical, and they did say, well, you're going to go into the Army. And I said, well, or you could go into the Navy or to the Marines. So I thought about the Navy, but I said, I don't want to get seasick all the time. So I joined the Marines. And I'm not sorry about that at all. Sometimes very sad and disastrous, but that's the way things work. Yeah.
What did you want to do when you first joined the club?
When I first joined, I joined for honestly educational purposes. So I could get the GI Bill and go to college. And I went in at 17. My parents had to sign for me. But it turned out when I turned 18, I went to the President Guard Corps. So I did get to pursue my education when I came back. And I gained a degree. And it turned out all right. But that's the purpose of it.
Although the thing, I was kind of guided to join something. So the Army was, I had no sense of direction, but as time passed, I did. So it helped me, put me in the right track.
Truthfully, I joined so I could get away from home.
Like I said, at the time, college wasn't for me. Coming up in the city of Trenton, I knew I wanted better for myself, and I just couldn't be a burden on my family. But honestly, when I went in, I just wanted to fight, because I grew up, looking at the war movies. Not go out and fight everybody on the street, but I just wanted to be able to have that rush.
Gentlemen, thank you for your service. Quick question. When you guys were overseas and you communicated back home, either through letter writing or on the telephone, did you communicate your actual feelings, or did you hide any of that stuff from the people at home?
For myself, some of it was there. I'll share this one story with you. My unit, we took a loss, and I called home, and I was on the phone with my mom, and I didn't realize the condition that I was in at that time when I was talking to my mother, and she said, "Hold on," and it caught me by surprise. But when she clicked back over, my pastor was on the phone with us, and we prayed. So sometimes those feelings do spill back out. And you want your loved ones to know that you're okay, but then sometimes you hide a lot of things because you don't want them to worry.
Now, I found my grandfather's letters home, back and forth. My grandmother, he was in World War II, and they fought each other in letters the way they did at home.
Yes.
It was amusing, but he never talked about what was going on while he was in the city.
Right, and that does happen, and it's interesting to say that. I was at an event last week, where a Vietnam veteran, he still has a letter that he wrote to his father from some of the things that he experienced while he was over in Vietnam. So, you know, the technology, and I'm going to pass the mic down, you can see change from when all of us was over there really wasn't email or Facebook and things like that, but you can see the difference in technology.
We had no email, we had no cell phones, we had no beepers, we had no TVs, we had none of that.
Civil War?
So, in my case, I think I wrote maybe 3 or 4 letters home. Didn't mention what was going on. I did mention by the time I was hungry, cold, and tired. I did mention that, but I think for most of us, right along what was going on was not the right thing to put our family through. We're a little bit different because sometimes, because we're in the field, whatever you carry, your papers got wet. So some of the guys used to write on cardboard. Mailing was free. So you write on cardboard, and they got home to your family, and they questioned, why the hell did you send a piece of cardboard? But that's how we communicated back then. So, feelings was not part of it. I guess feelings, as you know, are. When we have feelings, is when we better get together. Then we talk about those. Beyond that, we don't share that with anybody.
Do you think that like the movies and TV shows based on the wars are like accurate to your experiences? Do you feel like the TV shows, the entertainment based on the wars, are accurate to your experiences?
There was a long walk home. That is actually a movie about my unit. It was a 3-part series that aired a couple years ago on TNT. So some of them are accurate, some of them are not. As veterans, there are certain things that we won't watch. It's because of triggers that may upset us, or there's certain things that we know that's just too far out there, and you just don't want to frustrate it. So there are some that are, and then there's some that aren't. Actually, you know something? If you can hear me, Black Hawk Down, that pilot from that there, Black Hawk Down, is actually from New Jersey. And then there's a book and a movie, so if you actually get a chance, that is New Jersey heritage right there. And something from Somalia.
What did you miss the most about home during your time in service?
Go farm.
I missed my mom.
Yeah, I miss my family and friends.
One thing they really did appreciate and you missed the most? Home.
What was the training like as a soldier?
Kind of accurate.
What was the training like as a soldier?
Training? We're gonna let the soldiers answer that question.
Marines don't do a lot, so I'll let you know I got to answer that question for you. Different time, preparation for war, at different parts is different. Mine is 3 o'clock in the morning, running, walking, training, firing weapons, doing tactical training, eating on the run. The days were kept very busy because we knew where we were going. drill instructors for Vietnam veterans, and every day and every second of the day, they pound it into our head. That if you don't listen, you don't pay attention, you don't learn, you're gonna die. So that was our training. So fear was part of our training. So that developed a sense of responsibility and alertness, because you shouldn't want to die, you want to come back home. So that was our training in basic. I know how it is now. Later on, 10 years later, I became a drill instructor, and I was able to do the same thing those trainees did to me, inspire that fear that you're going to die. So, that's a lot of things.
Marine experience?
Yes, I was in the boot camp down at Paris Island, and our drill instructor, Corporal Blackburn, he was the most miserable person you would ever meet. He treated you like a dog. And then when we got finished with our boot camp, a few weeks later, I was still in Paris Island, and we went down. It was called the slop shoot. That's where we go have a couple beers. And he walked in. He saw me and my other friends, and he came over to me and he shook my hand. He says, "Call me Blackie." So I knew he was just trying to do the best job he could to train us for what we were going to experience later on. I didn't realize it at the time, but until I met him, not met him, when he introduced himself as Blackie. Yeah.
Were there any certain requirements to meet as a soldier, like to be a soldier?
You keep asking the soldiers the questions. Real Marines.
Well, like any requirements in general to be like a Marine?
Graduate high school, be physically fit, first pass the test, basic things at that time, and then when you get in, everything else changes.
So the joke is, in the Army, you're considered a soldier. The Marines, you're a Marine. Air Force, you're Airman. Navy, you're sailor. Coast Guard, you're Coast Guardman. So that's what it's at. But the basic training with that drill instructor or drill sergeant, responsibility is, main goal is to prepare you to be the most productive person that you can be during your military career. So you're going to learn how to fire a weapon, throw grenades, first aid, physical fitness, things of those nature there. And all those courses, they train you for everything that they want you to know, and they prepare you so you can be successful in passing the test. And throughout your military career, there are benchmarks that you continue that you have to meet. Like you can't pass the test in 1987 and still walk around with that qualification in 2022.
Thank you.
How did your family react to you coming back home?
My family, it was a good reception. Just to be able to them to be happy to see that you come home. I was in the first phase of the Iraq War, so a lot of that was on television at the time. Constantly aired on CNN, Fox, and the other media outlets. So for them to know that you're coming back home, it was just a warm feeling. But then at the same time, it's a humbling feeling. It's because everybody that you go to war with don't come home, so you have to be respectful to their family too as well.
How
How has the GI Bill impacted your life and future?
Okay. One, with the GI Bill, how it impacted my life, I was able to go to school tuition free, student loan free. So by using the GI Bill, you have a head start on someone else who take out financial loans or things of that nature, is because now let's just say they're $20,000 in the hole in their loans. They got to work to get past that $20,000 before they start earning a living wage, for lack of better words. Whereas in the GI Bill, you're coming out of school, your tuition is paid for. While you're in school, not only is your tuition is paid for, your books are paid for, there's a stipend for housing, for meals, as well as a financial stipend that you get from using the GI Bill. So it greatly benefited me when, each semester when you register for your classes and you look at that final number and it says 0 for your bill. So. And also too with the GI Bill, which most don't know, is depending on your status for the military, that passed down to your children too as well. So I have had 5 of my children, and my youngest twins are currently both using the GI Bill attending Nottingham University. So the GI Bill is not only for the service member, the GI Bill can also be passed down to your family as well. Your children and your spouse, not like your brother, your grandma, aunt, cousin, anything like that.
So I don't know if anyone asked this already, but were you expecting, when you enlisted, were you expecting how it was like, sorry, I worded that wrong. When you first enlisted, was it how you expected?
No. No, I don't think, and I pass it, let somebody else speak, but no, you just wasn't prepared for basic training.
No. It's a shock. And you used to hanging out on the street, having a good time, hanging out with your girlfriends and your friends and doing things. And you join the service, and you're all smiling and that fuzzy, talking and joking. Well, inside the bus stop, the door's open, and there's this guy right there. He's howling and screaming, and the shock realized, oops, this is not what I was expecting. So, yeah, even from the World War II time to my time and the rest of these guys, even though now the communication is a lot better, you hear a lot more about the services. So you see, there's films out there on basic training. When I joined, there was none of that. It was get off the bus gently and get off the bus and don't take your time and take everything with you at one time. So yeah, it was a shock.
You know what an alarm clock is in the military? Banging on the garbage can, get up.
Or trash can just rolling down the aisle. So yeah, it's a shock. And when you're 18, you don't expect those things. Mom didn't wake you up like that. Trust me, it's a shock.
I noticed that some of you have pins on your jackets. Do they mean something? And if they do, how did you get them?
So this one that I have on here today is, I served as a state commander for the Department of New Jersey Veterans of Foreign Wars, where I was commander of 27,000 veterans, combat veterans here in New Jersey. And then I also achieved the highest honor that a state commander can achieve, which is All-American. So I was awarded this pin here.
The pin I have on, I have the flag and the POW flag. Always think about the men that's missing in action. Always think about the prisoners of war. My second pin is how many years I served in
I have my American flag with my Puerto Rican flag. I am Puerto Rican in nationality, so I'm very proud of it. I will always wear that. The next one is to be a 50-year Vietnam commemoration pin. Right below that is, I'm a soldier for life. I'm a soldier for life. The other pins are, I was a post commander. I was all-state post commander and also all-American post commander and also district commander. So as you serve and you stand out, you get recognized, then you get so that's what we got to say.
I'm glad that you asked that question, is because I knew that we was going to be in the presence of a World War II veteran. And like I said, that it is an honor to be there, and I was going to present him, which I can do now, with my commander's pin from when I was a state commander of New Jersey for the VFW. So. Thank you.
This is overwhelming. Unfortunately, I had a little pin, but it was on another jacket, and I guess it got rusted. And I tried to break it apart this morning to give up. That's done. No, I'm sorry. It's a real honor to get this pin, and I was just telling these fellas, I had a pin with the Marine Corps on it, and I tried to take it off the jacket this morning, but it must have been rusted. And I just couldn't take it apart, so I said, oh, I'll have to do without it. But I really do feel honored, and I'll wear this all the time. It's really nice.
So I have a friend who's in the Marines, and she was talking about how, like, when they were training, they weren't notified about any events outside of, like, anything. So were there any, like, big events that you guys didn't know about until later? You were
Well, Juan didn't have TV or a newspaper.
You can't answer that question. The younger generation, they might be able to.
No, there's things that go on that your command keeps from you, is because they want you to focus on your training. So the official notification from back then to now is still the Red Cross. So if there's an event that an emergency or sickness, illness, or unfortunately a death that's in the family, the proper notification is through the Red Cross. But there are certain things that do go on that you find out about when you come home. But if you have someone, your classmates, when they deploy, send them a local newspaper. Write them. You know, take advantage of the old school ways.
I was just wondering, did like your time in war like change your perspective on humanity or like the world?
I mean, for me, yes, and that's why I said, you know, just seeing a bunch of kids who were orphaned, or people who just didn't have no home. So, you know, we were there to liberate them, or to free them, or to give them a better life at the same time. It would have been another attack from coming here, but it makes you appreciate the things that you have here, to just to be able to go in the bathroom and turn on the water and let the water run, to be able to drink, well, not today, you don't live at, you drink water from the faucet. You know, they don't have those things.
my dad's uncle, he served in the Korean War, and I never got a chance to talk to him before he passed away. So, what was like a big effect during your time in service?
Her dad uncle was in the Korean War, so, and I passed it down. When I became state commander, I made it a mission of mine to honor the Korean War veterans. It's because, unfortunately, the Korean War has a title to it that's saying there is the forgotten war. It's because the Korean War was a war that happened between World War II and Vietnam. So most people say World War II, Vietnam. But those soldiers, they had to brave the cold, and they had to fight. They fought honorably, just like every last one of us up here has fought. And there's one unique fact that most people don't know. Today, currently, it was this November the 16th, 2023, Korea is still an active combat zone. Korea is still an active combat zone.
I guess I can tell you, from being Puerto Rican, that during the Korean War, there was an infantry unit in Puerto Rico, which is nowadays very famous, the 65th Infantry. They came from Puerto Rico. Mind you, there's a warm climate. When they arrived in Korea, whatever clothes they had on, that's how they got into the battles. So it was very different. I think, looking back at history, World War II, they fought a lot of wars and they had a hard time. The Korean veteran went through a lot more on the fighting part than on the physical aspect. It's cold. No gloves sometimes. Your uniform is not a quick uniform for that type of environment. Because we went from World War II into Korea, so there was very little to change on changing what the service members were wearing. So, yes, for me, it was one of the hardest ones. He looked like an army guy.
Would you say you ever experienced some type of shock after the war you fought?
Would you say that we experienced some type of shock after the war?
It's kind of hard to explain that. If you heard PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Most of us, even all of us, we still have it. And we deal with it. We live through it. We try to make the best we can out of each and every day, dealing with what we have to deal with. But yes, war changes you. Definitely. You're 18 when you go there. You're 110 years when you come back. It ages you physically and mentally. You're not prepared to see the things that you're going to see. I mean, it's good when you watch it on TV, young boys charging up as a Marine, Marines are following. It's very different. Everything you do, every action you take, it's going to stay with you. And it does shock you. Did I answer your question?
Was there any playful beef between the different branches? Like they played baseball games?
Yeah, well, the most popular sporting event is it's coming up, right? December 1st.
Go Army, beat Navy.
Is the Army-Navy game. And, it's a football game, but throughout, the day, or whatever, we'd see a Marine, may make a comment and say, oh, Marines chew on crowns, which they do. Or they may say the Army do this and do like that. But I look at it, the branches of the military, we like a hand. And when you close that hand, it's a fist, and we are strong together. We joke with each other, but on the battlefield, we fight alongside each other. But one thing I did learn, so I just need your attention. I do take the world's best selfies, so I just need everybody to wake up real quick.
Yeah.
All right. Take a square, take a square, take a square. Got you.
Any last minute word of wisdom that you want to, as we close?
I would say go Army.
I'm going to say this, which a lot of students don't take advantage of. The VFW, the scholarship period is closed this year, but starting in March of 2024, those students who will be entering grades 9 through 12 are eligible for a now it's $35,000. A $35,000 scholarship through the VFW. You only have to write an essay and record a 5-minute audio video. It's an audio essay contest. It's $35,000. I will stay in touch with Mr. Clinton to make sure we get you the information.